This homemade rustic artisan bread has an amazing golden caramelized crunchy crust with a beautiful light and airy open crumb inside. You will love the chewy texture and wonderful flavor of this bread. In this recipe, we are using a unique method and technique. We use 80% pre-ferment or biga to make our bread, which is slowly fermented, which gives that delicious flavor to our bread. And while making this bread, the actual hands-on time that we need to work with the dough is only less than 15 minutes, and so we can make this bread with the least effort. And in this simple bread recipe, we use only 5 basic ingredients: flour, water, salt, yeast, and the special ingredient that works wonders is thyme. So we'll prepare the pre-ferment in the evening and we'll make the bread the next day morning. So in this video, let's see how easy it is to make this wonderful and flavorful bread. So let's start by preparing the biga or pre-ferment. Into a bowl, I'm adding some room temperature water. Into this, I'm adding a very little yeast. It's difficult to measure using a kitchen scale as it's only about 0.1 gram by weight. And so it's better to say it's 2 pinches of yeast or almost 1/12 of a teaspoon. Stir and dissolve it in water. And now I'm adding flour into this, and using the rear end of a wooden spoon, I'm mixing them together until it forms a shaggy mass of dough. We don't need to knead the dough, but just make sure there are no dry patches left behind. And now cover it with a cling film and let the dough sit and slowly ferment for about 10 to 16 hours. So it's been 14 hours and you can see our dough has risen slightly, and it's best to use when it is at this stage, when the rise is at its peak, just before it starts to collapse and before bubbles are starting to form on the surface. So what we are going to do now is to prepare a small bread dough. So into a small bowl, I'm adding some water, 1/4 of a teaspoon of yeast, and stir until it gets dissolved. And then I'm adding flour and combine to form a dough. I'm sprinkling the salt on the surface of our pre-ferment. And now I'm stretching this dough and spread it evenly on the surface of our pre-ferment. And now let's combine them together to form a homogeneous dough. Now our bread dough is ready, and let it proof for 2 hours. And in between this 2 hours of proofing time, we will try to strengthen the dough so that our bread dough can make light and airy bread. So it's been 45 minutes. And now you can see our bread dough is very sticky, but when our hands are wet, it will not stick to our hands. So don't forget to dip your hands in water before working with the dough. To strengthen the gluten strands of our dough, we are going to stretch and fold the dough. So stretch the dough from one side and fold it onto itself, and then turn the bowl 90 degrees and then repeat the same on all four sides. And now cover it again and let it sit for another 45 minutes. So after 45 minutes, our dough has risen slightly. And now using a wet bowl scraper, I'm detaching the dough from the sides of the bowl and then transferring this dough onto lightly wet surface. And now stretch the dough to form a rectangular sheet. And then fold 1/3 of the dough from bottom and then from the top. And then from both sides. And this will help to give more strength and shape to our dough. And now let's place it on another bowl. I've applied some oil inside so that it will be easy for us to release the dough. And now cover it again and let it sit and rise for another 30 minutes. So while the dough completes its proofing, let's prepare our proofing basket where we will proof the finely shaped dough. We can use a banneton, which is ideal, but as I don't have one, I'm using a rectangular loaf pan. And here I'm dusting a kitchen towel with some rice flour. As rice flour is a gluten-free flour, it will prevent the dough from sticking to it. And now our proofing bowl is ready. So after 30 minutes, our dough has risen slightly. And now let's take it out. I'm sprinkling the top with some flour. With the help of a dusted scraper, I'm scraping it from the sides of the dish so that we can smoothly transfer this dough onto the work surface. And also don't forget to dust the work surface with enough flour so that the dough will not stick to the work surface. So now let's shape our bread. We are not going to do any fancy shaping, just roll it from both sides and pinch the seam together so that it will hold that shape. And then place this onto the proofing pan with the same side on top. And again, for creating more surface tension, I'm bringing the ends together and pinching just like stitching the edges. And now it's ready for proofing, so cover it and let it sit and rise for 50 to 60 minutes. And after 50 minutes, our dough has risen well, and now it's ready to go into the oven. So carefully flip it onto a parchment paper. And dust off any extra flour on top. And now at this point I took out the preheated oven dish from the oven and carefully placed the bread dough on it. With the help of a sharp knife or blade, or with the help of a lame, we can score the bread dough. And I'm placing the lid back and it's ready to go into the oven. So bake it at 480 Fahrenheit or 250 C for 18 minutes and then reduce the temperature to 450 Fahrenheit or 230 C and bake for another 10 to 12 minutes without the lid. And after baking, we'll get a beautiful loaf of bread. It has got wonderful oven spring, and I love the crust to have a very deep caramelized golden color, which gives a nice nutty flavor, which is so incredible. And the crust has a fine crunchiness, which is so good. And you can see the inside of our bread is so light and airy, and as our bread dough has proofed slowly, it has got amazing flavor. Our bread is so delicious. We can have it even with some plain butter. And I have worked on this recipe to make it simple and easy to make at home. I hope you like this recipe and I hope you will make this at home. And I'm pretty sure you will love this bread. If you like this video, please give your valuable thumbs up, and please don't forget to share this recipe with your friends and family who love homemade bread. And thank you so much for your love and support, and thanks for watching this video. See you next time.